Gray hairs in my shower drain. Not mine. Mine is auburn. Long, coarse strands that could only belong to one person. I stood there staring at them, my stomach turning, because those hairs meant Catherine had been in my shower, using my shampoo, my soap, washing herself in the most private space Julius and I shared. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was finding my wedding photos moved from the bedroom dresser to the kitchen counter, rearranged. The one of me and Julius cut out and replaced with an old photo of Catherine and Julius from his college graduation, like she was editing me out of my own marriage. My name is Sonya. I'm 26. And I'd just discovered my mother-in-law had been playing house in my home while treating me like a temporary guest. If you believe silence can speak louder than words, subscribe to Revenge with Susie. It helps me reach more people and keeps me going to bring you more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, would you have done anything differently? 6 months ago, Julius and I had what should have been the perfect wedding. Small ceremony, close family, everything we'd dreamed of, except for one tiny detail that still makes my stomach turn. The morning of our wedding, Catherine and Phil arrived at the venue with empty hands and sheepish smiles. "Oh, honey," Catherine said, touching my arm with that fake concern she's perfected over the years. "We're so sorry, but Phil's business account got frozen yesterday. You know how banks are." Julius immediately pulled out his credit card. $2,300. Gone. Just like that. But it wasn't the money that bothered me. It was Catherine's smile afterward, the way she patted Julius's cheek and said, "You're such a good son. She's lucky to have someone who takes care of things." She looked right through me when she said it, like I was invisible, like I was just some accessory Julius had picked up. My maid of honor, Jessica, noticed it too. "Did she just ignore the fact that you exist?" she whispered during photos. I chose to ignore it. After all, it was my wedding day. I was going to be happy, even if Catherine seemed determined to remind everyone that Julius was still her little boy. But that night, as we packed for our honeymoon to Mexico, Julius mentioned something that should have been a red flag. "Mom asked for Jessica's number," he said casually. "She wants to coordinate watering your plants while we're gone." Jessica lived 3 states away. I didn't even have plants. The first crack appeared in my perfect marriage before we'd even left for our honeymoon. Cancun was supposed to be ours. 7 days of sun, beach, and finally being alone together as husband and wife. I'd planned everything perfectly. A resort just far enough from the tourist crowds, excursions that Julius would love, dinners at tiny restaurants only locals knew about. On day 2, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Honey, where are you staying again?" Catherine's voice was sweet as poison honey. "We're thinking of taking a little vacation ourselves. Phil needs the relaxation." Julius grabbed the phone from me. "Mom, we're at the Casa del Mar, but this is our honeymoon." "Oh, don't be silly. Mexico is huge. We won't even see you." Except they did see us. Everywhere. They showed up at our hotel restaurant the next morning, waving from across the dining room like it was all a wonderful coincidence. Catherine wore a flowing white dress that made her look like she was competing with me for bride status. "What are the odds?" she exclaimed, air kissing me while her eyes stayed cold. "Phil and I just happened to book the same resort." Isn't that magical? The same resort, the same floor, 3 doors down from our room. Julius thought it was funny. "What's wrong with spending time with family? You're being paranoid, Sonya." But I noticed how Catherine always appeared wherever we were planning to go. The snorkeling tour we'd booked privately. Suddenly, she and Phil had spots on the same boat. The couple's massage I'd arranged as a surprise. Catherine had already rescheduled us for a family package that included her and Phil. By day 4, I was eating breakfast in our room just to avoid running into them. "You're ruining our honeymoon," Julius said, watching me pick at room service eggs Benedict. "They're just trying to bond with you." Bond. That's what he called it when his mother systematically erased every romantic moment we'd planned. I spent our last 3 days in paradise feeling like a stranger in my own marriage. And when we finally flew home, Catherine hugged Julius goodbye at the airport like she was the one leaving her new husband behind. "Take care of him," she whispered to me, loud enough for everyone to hear. "He's still learning how to be married." I was learning too. Learning that in Julius's family, there was no such thing as just the 2 of us. 2 months later, Julius and I took a weekend trip to visit my college roommate in Denver. Just 2 days. 48 hours of finally feeling like a normal married couple. When we got back Sunday night, something was off. The throw pillows on our couch were arranged differently, perfectly fluffed and symmetrical, not the casual way I'd left them. The kitchen counter was spotless, which was strange because I'd left it clean but not magazine ready. Did you rearrange things before we left? I asked Julius as he brought in our suitcase. He barely looked up. Rearrange what? I walked through our house slowly, that creeping feeling growing stronger with each room. The bathroom towels were folded hospital crisp. The coffee maker was moved 6 inches to the left. Small things. Things Julius would never notice. In our bedroom, I found something that made my blood go cold. My jewelry box was closed, but the necklace I always kept on top was inside, carefully laid in the velvet compartment. I never put it away like that. Ever. Julius, I called, trying to keep my voice steady. Did anyone have our house key while we were gone? He appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. Just Jessica, for emergencies. But she lives in Phoenix now, so... He shrugged. Maybe Mom stopped by to check on things. I might have mentioned we were going away. My chest tightened. You gave your mother our house key? I didn't give it to her. She probably got it from Jessica. He said it like it was the most normal thing in the world. What's the big deal? She was just being helpful. Helpful. Catherine had been in our bedroom, touching my things, rearranging my private space, and Julius thought she was being helpful. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound made me freeze. Was that footsteps? Was someone still in the house? My heart would race at shadows moving across the wall, at the refrigerator humming, at Julius breathing beside me. I kept checking the locks, getting up to peer through curtains, listening for car doors in the driveway. Julius slept peacefully beside me, completely unbothered by the fact that his mother had violated our most intimate space. While I lay there feeling like a stranger was watching me sleep, that paranoia, that constant feeling of being observed in my own home, was something I'd never experienced before. But it would become my new normal, because that was the night I realized I was living with someone who would never see boundaries the way I did. In his world, family access was unlimited and privacy was just selfishness. In mine, what had happened felt like a violation that was changing me from the inside out. 3 weeks later, I came home early from work with a migraine. The office was dead, my boss was traveling, and all I wanted was to take some Tylenol and collapse in my own bed. I pushed through our front door, keys jingling, and called out of habit, "Julius, I'm home early." Silence. But not empty silence. The kind of quiet that feels occupied, like when someone's holding their breath. I kicked off my heels and headed upstairs, each step on our wooden staircase echoing differently than usual. Muffled, like there was carpet or fabric absorbing the sound. At the top of the stairs, I heard it. The soft scratch of fingers on a phone screen. Someone scrolling, casual as anything. My heart started hammering against my ribs. I approached our bedroom door slowly, the migraine forgotten. The door was cracked open just enough for me to see inside. Catherine was lying in my bed. Not sitting. Lying. Stretched out on Julius's side like she belonged there, wearing my bathrobe, the soft gray one I'd gotten as a wedding gift. Her silver hair was spread across my pillow, and she was scrolling through her phone like she was in her own bedroom, like she was the owner, like I was the intruder in my own house. I stood frozen in the doorway, watching my mother-in-law make herself comfortable in the most intimate space Julius and I shared, the space where we whispered secrets, where we were most vulnerable, where we created our life as a couple. She looked up when she sensed me there, and her reaction wasn't embarrassment or apology. It was mild annoyance, like I'd interrupted something important. "Oh, hello, dear," she said, not moving from my bed. "I was just waiting for Julius. He said he'd be home around 3. "It's 1:30, I managed to say. "And this is our bedroom." Catherine smiled that patient smile she reserved for when she thought I was being difficult. "Sonya, honey, your bed is just so comfortable. I had to try it out." She stretched like a cat, pulling my bathrobe tighter around herself. "I hope you don't mind. I used your shower too." Julius always brags about that rainfall shower head. She used our shower. She was wearing my bathrobe. In my bed. "Get out!" The words came out quieter than I'd intended. "Excuse me?" Catherine sat up slowly, eyebrows raised like I'd said something shocking. "Get out of my bed. Get out of my house." She swung her legs over the side of the mattress with theatrical slowness. "Well, that's quite rude. I have a key, so this is practically my second home anyway." She stood up, smoothing my bathrobe. "Julius won't be happy about this attitude." I watched her gather her purse and shoes, moving with deliberate calm, like she was the wronged party. Like I was the one being unreasonable for not wanting my mother-in-law to treat our bedroom like a hotel room. After she left, I stripped the bed completely and washed everything twice, but I could still smell her perfume on my pillow. When Julius got home at 3:15, he found me sitting on our bare mattress, staring at the wall. "What happened to our bedding?" he asked. I told him everything, the shower, the bathrobe, His mother lying in our bed like she owned it. His response was exactly what I expected and somehow still managed to break my heart. She was probably just tired, Sonya. Don't make this into something it's not. Something it's not? I stood up from the mattress, my voice finally finding its strength. Julius, your mother was in our bed wearing my bathrobe. How is that not something? He loosened his tie, already moving toward his dresser like the conversation was over. Look, I know Mom can be a little involved, but she means well. She just wants to feel close to us. You're overreacting. Close to us? I could hear my voice getting sharper. Julius, she was in our bed wearing my bathrobe. She was probably just tired and she used our shower. She went through our bedroom. She rearranged our private things. He turned around and I saw that guilty look again. Okay, maybe she got a little carried away. But it comes from love, Sonya. That's just how my family shows affection. Affection. That's what he called it when his mother treated our home like her personal territory. Okay, so... Remember when Jessica had our spare key during the honeymoon? I nodded, dreading what came next. Mom asked if she could make a copy, just for emergencies. Jessica thought it would be helpful since she lives so far away now. The room started spinning. So Jessica gave your mother a key to our house without asking me? It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal? I could hear my voice rising, but I couldn't stop it. Your mother has been coming into our house whenever she wants. She's been going through our things, sleeping in our bed, using our shower, and you think it's not a big deal? Julius ran his hands through his hair. Okay, maybe she crossed a line today, but you're acting like she's some kind of criminal. She's family, Sonya. I'm your family now too. The silence that followed was deafening. Julius looked at me like I'd said something unreasonable, and I realized with horrible clarity that he didn't see it that way. In his mind, I was the addition to his family. Catherine was the original, the permanent fixture, the one whose feelings mattered most. I'll talk to her, he said finally, like he was doing me a huge favor. I'll tell her to call before she comes over. Call before she comes over. Not give us our key back or respect our privacy or stay out of our bedroom. Just a courtesy phone call. Julius, I said quietly, she needs to give us that key back. You want me to take a house key away from my mother? That's pretty extreme, don't you think? Extreme. Wanting privacy in my own home was extreme. That night, Julius called Catherine. I could hear him from the kitchen, his voice warm and apologetic, like he was the one who'd done something wrong. Hey, Mom. Yeah, Sonya was a little upset about this afternoon. I know. She's still adjusting to how close our family is. Could you maybe just text before you come over, just to keep the peace? Not one word about boundaries. Not one word about how inappropriate it was for her to be in our bed. Just a request for a heads-up text, delivered like he was asking her to humor his unreasonable wife. When he hung up, he looked at me expectantly, like he'd solved everything. She understands, he said. She'll text next time. I stared at my husband and realized I was completely alone in my own marriage. For the next month, Catherine did text. Short, sweet messages that arrived at the most inconvenient times. Dropping by in 20 minutes to water your plants. We still didn't have plants. Coming over for lunch. Hope that's okay. It was never actually a question. Let myself in to clean your kitchen. You kids work so hard. She had started calling us you kids, which made my skin crawl. Each text felt like a countdown to invasion. I'd rush home during lunch breaks to hide anything personal, lock our bedroom door, put away mail I didn't want her reading. I was hiding in my own house. Julius thought I was being paranoid. She's trying, Sonya. She's texting like you wanted. But the texts weren't respect. They were warnings. Catherine was announcing her intrusions, not asking permission for them. I started staying late at work. Anything to avoid coming home and finding evidence that someone else had been living in my space. Coffee cups I hadn't used, towels refolded, my bathroom counter wiped down with cleaners that smelled like Catherine's house. One evening, I came home to find a casserole dish in my refrigerator with a note, for my busy daughter-in-law, Catherine daughter-in-law, like I was her child instead of Julius's wife. I threw the entire casserole in the trash, dish and all. She made that for us, Julius said when he found the empty refrigerator. She made that for you, I corrected. I never asked for it. What's wrong with you lately? You used to be so easygoing. Easygoing. That's what he called it when I didn't fight back. But I was done being easygoing. I was done pretending that what was happening was normal or kind or helpful. That night, I lay awake listening to Julius breathe beside me, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The wedding she'd sabotaged, the honeymoon she'd invaded, the house key she'd stolen, the bed she'd contaminated. I looked at my husband sleeping so peacefully, so unbothered by his mother's violations, and something crystallized in my mind with perfect clarity. He was never going to choose me. In every conflict between his mother and his wife, Catherine would win. Because in Julius's mind, keeping peace with his mother was more important than protecting his marriage. So that night, lying in the dark, I made a different choice. I chose me. I spent the rest of the night making a very quiet decision. The locksmith came on a Tuesday morning while Julius was at work, and Catherine was at her book club. I paid him in cash and had him install the most expensive lock system he carried. When Julius came home that evening, his key didn't work. I watched him from the kitchen window, trying his key over and over, checking the lock, looking confused. Finally, he knocked. I took my time walking to the door. "What happened to our lock?" he asked when I let him in. "I changed it." He stared at me. "You changed our house locks? Without telling me?" "I told the locksmith to do it. There's a difference." Julius followed me into the kitchen, his voice rising. "Sonya, this is insane. You can't just change the locks on our house. It's my house too, isn't it?" I turned to face him, and something in my expression made him step back. "You kept saying that this was our home, our marriage, our life. So I made an executive decision about our security. What about my mother?" There it was. The real question. Not, "What about us?" or "Why didn't you discuss this with me?" What about his mother? What about her? She won't be able to get in. I smiled, and I could feel how cold it looked. "I know." Julius ran his hands through his hair, pacing our kitchen like a caged animal. "She's going to be so hurt. She's going to think you hate her." "I don't hate Catherine," I said calmly. "I just don't want her in my bed anymore." She was never in our bed. The lie hung in the air between us. We both knew it was a lie. He'd chosen to believe his mother's version of events over mine, and now he was stuck with that choice. "Here's your new key," I said, sliding it across the counter. I had 3 made. 1 for you, 1 for me, and 1 for emergencies that will stay in our safety deposit box at the bank. He picked up the key like it weighed 100 pounds. "Sonya, you can't do this. She's family. So am I." For the first time since our wedding, Julius looked at me like he was really seeing me. Not the accommodating woman who'd let his mother rearrange her life. Not the easygoing wife who'd smiled through months of boundary violations. Me, the woman who'd finally had enough. "You need to choose," I said quietly. "Your mother can have a key to her own house, but not to ours. If that's not acceptable to you, I can give you the number of a good divorce attorney." The silence stretched between us like a canyon. Finally, Julius picked up his new key and put it on his keychain. He didn't say anything about divorce attorneys. He didn't say anything about Catherine deserving access to our home. He just nodded. That weekend, Catherine texted her usual announcement, "Coming by to tidy up." She stood on our front porch for 20 minutes, trying her old key, ringing our doorbell, calling both our phones. We were home. We were watching her from our bedroom window, but we didn't answer. I never gave Catherine an explanation. I never had a confrontation or a heart-to-heart conversation about boundaries. I never tried to make her understand why what she'd done was wrong. I just took away her access. And I learned something important about silence. Sometimes it's the only language that gets heard. Catherine still calls Julius to complain about me. She still makes passive-aggressive comments at family dinners about feeling locked out of our lives, but she doesn't have a key anymore. And after 6 months of sleeping in a bed that smells only like Julius and me, of coming home to find everything exactly where I left it, of having private conversations in my own kitchen, I've discovered something wonderful about peace. It doesn't require anyone else's permission. They thought a key could open every door. They learned some doors close forever,